Well, I'll start with the problem you may have come up to just following it with the story. I didn't have this problem, but I've listened to a few people talk about Psychonauts. Is the problem that see, I saw, the store. Have you been to the store?
No. Is that your man in his little secret lair?
It's yeah, but he's in the main lodge, and he's got like shelves of stuff you can buy for so many arrowheads.
Yeah.
And I saw the cobweb duster, and I'd already seen mental cobwebs in like the first obstacle course mission, which is like World War One or whatever it is.
Mm-hmm.
And I was thinking, oh man, okay, I need the cobweb duster. I see this like what is it, like 800 arrowheads or something ridiculous. I thought, okay, well, I'm going to save up for that. And so I had the cobweb duster just about when you needed it. There's like a point in the game where you need it, and if you don't have enough arrowheads, you then have to go out and collect loads. The other thing that really helped is I got the there's like I forget what you call it, like a rod or like divining rod or something that helps you get like deep arrowheads when you're just exploring the camp. And that will give you like, rather than just one, it will give you like 20 or whatever at a time.
Okay.
So you get like loads more. So I like did everything I needed to early on so that I could afford the cobweb duster or collector, whatever it was. But I've heard that some people get up to that point in the game and then have to go away and grind. So you may have encountered that if that's the way you were going about it.
Yeah, probably. Yeah, I kind of... I think I attempted getting like all the collectibles. Like I only really got cases when I needed to. Or not even when I needed to, but just if I happened to come across the things. Because like the tags in some areas, like particularly in Agent 9's like simulation thing, aren't difficult to come by. So yeah, no, I didn't pay too much attention. In fairness, actually, I saying that while playing, I found myself going back to location because the arrowheads they respawn after every time you go back out. So I found myself going back to those areas, particularly near the beginning section where you first go to Agent 9's secret lab. There's like this bear behind the area that like I first of all tried just hitting, and I knew that wasn't like I just died. So I was like, okay, I'll come back to this. I obviously will. This will be something I'll come back to. And then once you get like the ability to like pretty much shoot, like it took like 3 hits and then he just goes down. You get no reward. Like, what is the point in him being there?
I don't know.
Cause I was just thinking like it was giving me very much like Ogdo Bogdo vibes from Jedi Fallen Order, where it's like the most difficult character in the game is like this weird like creature that you can't fight until you get your upgrades.
Yeah, and there's like, I'm pretty sure there's like a Russian kid that keeps mentioning a bear, so I was like, oh, it's just a bear, I gotta kill the bear, and then like that'll open up a new conversation or quest or something, and then just kill it, and it's like, oh
yeah,
it's just a bear.
That's one thing I'll say about the game. I absolutely love the character designs of these because they're so wacky. The way I want to tell you this yesterday, because for people listening, we were on a call yesterday and I was like, I really want to tell you about Psychonauts, but I won't. I'll save it for the podcast, and you will now get to learn about what I was going to say. It really gives me like those very much like it definitely feels ripped out of like mid 2000s. Like it gives me very much what's the word I'm looking for, like B movie vibes. Like the characters kind of have that same aura about them, like where they kind of like their character models like it looks like something out of like Ant's Life or something, or Bug's Life it's called.
Right.
Sorry,
Bug's Life.
Yeah.
You're conflating ants and Bug's Life.
But it does though, doesn't it?
Yeah. Oh, when you said B movie, did you mean like the B movie?
Yeah. What other B movie is there, Connor?
I thought you were thinking like B movies, as in like
No. The B movie. You know, you like Jazz Barry B Benson movie.
Right. Yeah. Yeah.
I say that
does
just
have
in the animation style and like I suppose the budget put into that style, like you know the way models in those sort of movies, like they look fine but they just look like I suppose like somebody's first draft at like drawing a photorealistic model and it looks kind of blobby.
Yeah, I look at the Psychonauts character models and I sort of think of do you know Ren and Stimpy? You know, like how the animation and like there's I think I've watched a video essay on this, but how the Ren and Stimpy animation does such like wacky things with their facial animations rather than just like shows nowadays which kind of have the same stock expressions. Kind of like Psychonauts just really went out there with like, let's have a face that looks like this, and like they use all different colors and expressions and things. They create like really unique looking characters. I love it.
Yeah, I think as well the set pieces and like the design of the whole thing, like despite me never having played it up until now, it kind of does transport me back to the time. I could imagine playing this as a child, and like really really liking it and having it stick with me. Like I understand why it has such a cult following.
Yes. Yeah.
And I think that's quite a good thing, that if you can look at like it is a thing of its time, but it does that like it's a very good thing of its time, if that makes any sense. Like it adequately like represents like sort of games of that time, or I suppose more so movies of that, or animated movies of that time, I feel.
Yeah, I think you're right. When were you first aware of Psychonauts?
I think I always knew about it. I didn't know about the like I'd heard the name, like, but I didn't know anything about it. I heard people being like, oh, Double Fine, they're so good, and like, oh, you should play Psychonauts, but I never really looked into it, because
Have you played any Double Fine games?
I see, I probably have, but I see when somebody mentions Double Fine, like, what else have they made? I'm not too sure.
Brutal Legend?
Is that the one with Jack Black?
Yes.
I have that, but I haven't played it.
Costume Quest?
I have that downloaded because it's easy achievements, but I haven't played it.
Broken Age?
I don't know what that is.
The Cave?
Again, don't know.
Grim Fandango Remastered?
I don't know if I want to know what that is.
Oh, Odhrán, you're really letting me down.
In fairness, I knew two of those, and Brutal Legend is probably the most important one, along with Psychonauts, to know.
Yeah, Brutal Legend was like hugely. I mean, when that came out,
It was peak Jack Black time as well.
oh,
It was like School of Rock era Jack Black.
It even had a Kyle Gass cameo in. It was like a Tenacious D. I love it so much. No, but like I'm pretty sure my dad had Psychonauts on PC back in the day. So I played this as a kid, and I watched my dad play it, but I never really got past the beginning.
Yeah.
And so for years, Psychonauts has kind of existed in my mind as a very vivid game that I've always wanted to go back and play and complete. Because the game starts off and you are Raz, short for Rasputin, and you've infiltrated a summer camp for psychic children who are training to become Psychonauts. It's like a really weird summer camp that almost seems kind of
seems like a weird play on, you know, the whole like I don't know if you have it in the UK, but we have this thing called CTYI, which is like Center for like Talented Youth or whatever, where like they go and like I don't know. I think the way it was described to me was it's like half the people are smart and half the people have money. So it's like they can pay to get in, but like it kind of seems like one of those things that like it's like a brainiac like summer camp or whatever. Like sort of like you go there like for like the smartest of the smart, or like in this case like what would it be, like the most intuitive minds or something.
Right, I've never heard of that, so I'm clearly not smart enough or rich enough.
Well, I was neither, so it's just...
but I think the idea of a psychic summer camp and just that setting, and having the lake be a character in itself, where it's like this creepy lake where the hands, like the hand of the lake comes out to grab you when you jump over it. That whole setting has remained with me as like a really vivid little image of what Psychonauts is. And in some ways I was slightly upset when playing this game, because it's like, I hold this game up in such a high spot in my mind and from my childhood. Like, I'm finally going to play and get to know this game, and sometimes getting to know something from your childhood that left a big impression on you, it sometimes limits its sort of imaginative power in your mind, you know? you see it for all its flaws. Like, we played Mass Effect 1, and that's like something I held up for ages.
Yeah.
And I
I
went
yeah
back
no
and
it,
saw its
I was
flaws.
going to mention Mass Effect 1 because it's kind of like that. Like the mechanics do not hold up. Like some of the general platforming is okay, but I think particularly where it always falls flat, and the one thing that really constantly irked me was one locking on with your head blast, because it's like it's ridiculously difficult. You need to either be like right in front of them, or like it might just lock on at some certain ages, but like it's really difficult to do it. Um, and then when you turn your camera while walking, it's constantly slowly going back to its original position. It doesn't just stay there, which I wish it would do. Um, so like if you're going up an area, first of all, I think the camera angles are really bad. If you're not constantly moving it, because the general camera angle they have, like sometimes it'll clip through walls, or like it'll like just be a really difficult way to like approach it. I know there's like one section at the end of the game in which it like shows its flaws, but I haven't gotten there, and I dread to think about it. Um,
Are you talking about the one that I was talking about
yeah.
to you? Yeah, I mean that is just like a particularly hard bit of platforming, but the the fact that the controls are somewhat dated does not help. I mean, there are some games that do this, right, where you jump and then you press A to double jump, but because you have to press A to double jump immediately after you've jumped, you've missed the time. I don't know why people put that delay in. Like, if you double jump, why does it matter if it's, a little bit after I've jumped rather than straight away?
Hmm.
So that annoys me, stuff like that. And then controlling the camera, and it there was a particular point where you have to climb on something and you're going round, and you've got to like climb around fire, and you've got to jump from one thing to another thing, and it's like it's like a god, audio listeners are screwed on this. It's like a winding tower going up,
Hmm.
and you have to jump from bit to bit, and it's just really awkward. Like I'm sure they made the platforming awkward in that section just for the difficulty. Um, but yeah, this game, I think the setting of the summer camp is so good that I could have spent much more of the game there. The fact that the levels are actually all inside the minds of the people you come across, I think is great. But I think more needed to happen in the summer camp, because when I started the game, I was imagining, as a child, I thought this game was a lot creepier than it is.
Hmm.
Because I thought you go into your bed to save, or the little lodge. I didn't end up doing that because like
You
you
can
can
just
just
save on the
save
go.
from the
Yeah.
pause screen. So I was like, but I was thinking, oh, I'm gonna come back to like this little dorm cabin like every night, and something creepy is gonna happen, and we're gonna find out like everything behind the Psychonauts scheme. And it wasn't like that at all. It was more like there isn't that sense of danger or creepiness that I felt right at the beginning of the game, where I felt you're just kind of this new kid to this really strange summer camp. And I would have loved to have that sense of kind of horror, or you wake up in the middle of the night and you've got to investigate the summer camp, and something's off, kind of like a
Well, it
Twilight
is meant to be
Zone.
like a kid's game.
I know. I just
Just
it's
turns
that
into an 18 plus horror movie at the
no,
end.
not like proper horror, just like like Monster House, or like a kids
Oh,
animation film,
classic, yeah.
like where it's just like, oh, this is creepy, like
I,
something's
st- I
off, like.
still I still hate watching Monster House. I think it's so freaky. Like, and I'm
I need
21.
to
Like,
watch.
there's something like wrong with me, I think.
I need to watch that film again. I've plucked that out of my
Actually,
head, and now I'm like,
you know what?
I
Yeah, you
want to
know what a
watch it.
perfect example of a movie like that? Coraline. Oh my god, that's a freakishly weird movie.
But Coraline is exactly what I mean, like horror for children. And Coraline, it's exactly those vibes, right? It's like you go to a place where something's not quite right, and
Hmm.
there are supernatural stuff going on. And the book for Coraline is great, by the way. There are moments in that that are like way more terrifying than the film.
Yeah.
But yeah, So that was like my little heartbreak at the beginning. It's like I'm gonna have to break that vision of Psychonauts in my head. But moving past that, what I found was like, you know, an awesome platformer that I absolutely loved, which makes me, you know, I'm so excited for the sequel. I feel like I need to talk about Double Fine a little bit first because
Yeah, sure, go for it.
I think that Tim Schafer, who's like the creative director or founder of Double Fine, I'm pretty sure, they did Grim Fandango with LucasArts, and then he formed Double Fine, and Psychonauts was their first game.
Did Tim Schafer do the what's that tentacle game? What's it called?
Day of the Tentacle?
Yeah.
Yeah. Double Fine remastered Day of the Tentacle as well.
Oh, okay.
I think that's one of the LucasArts.
And they did like Full Throttle on that as well, didn't they?
Yeah, pretty sure.
Yeah.
So Psychonauts was their first game. I think Brutal Legend was one that followed. Now, Brutal Legend I absolutely loved, but that is a weird game because they went to make like a RTS and then ended up making like a weird open world rock game where you have like a guitar that blasts demons with lightning and an axe. It is one of the most badass games. Like if you love rock, heavy metal, Jack Black, and it's got some wicked voice talent in that game as well. I think they got Ozzy Osbourne in there. They got Tim Curry.
Yeah.
Oh, that game is a classic, and you need to go play.
I genuinely wonder how many games Jack Black has been in at this stage, because I know he was in the King Kong movie game as well.
He's been in he's in Psychonauts 2. He's in.
Wait, is he actually in Psychonauts 2?
Yeah, because Tim Schafer gets Jack Black on all the time. I think he's in Broken Age as well. Yeah. So Jack Black's been in Brutal Legend, Broken Age. He
was obviously in the Jumanji game, which is
Jack
like
Black and Tim Schafer like that. If you go look up like videos of them.
Huh.
Have you seen the Psychonauts 2 trailer where it's the...
No, I haven't seen it. You're talking to the wrong person. I haven't seen any of the Psychonauts 2 stuff.
Oh, there's like a brain in the jar trailer where there's like this brain in the jar that's been at the bottom of the lake, and like its senses awaken after like years of nothing or whatever. And I think Jack Black is like the brain, and it's like he sings like a song in it. It's fantastic.
Yeah, I'm gonna watch all the stuff after I finish the game, I think.
Yeah. So, and Brutal Legend was a game that I think throughout all the Double Fine games, there's been such a great sense of humor. And it's like this really specific kind of quirky humor that really fits into their animation style and everything they do. And I think that because of their sort of what would you call it? Because of the history of LucasArts and Grim Fandango and kind of the going about and finding things, I don't know if you'd call it, probably point and click sort of adventure games. And Broken Age was definitely that. Broken Age was a newer one, which I think had Elijah Wood voice one of the protagonists, and that was like a fantastic kind of nod to their roots. The Cave was a really interesting platformer that they did. Costume Quest was like... Have you seen Costume Quest?
Yeah, I've seen bits of it.
That Xbox Live Arcade Halloween game where you dress up in different suits and then you fight goblins.
It's on Game Pass, actually.
And it's like... Yeah, the second one is.
Yeah.
And it's like turn-based combat where in the battles you actually become like a huge Optimus Prime looking robot or a knight or whatever you're dressed as. And I remember playing that. It must have been... When it came out, I played it around Halloween, and it was perfect. I think every Halloween, if you don't play Costume Quest at Halloween, you're not doing Halloween right.
I suppose it's not a horror game either, so maybe it's worth it. Maybe we should stick that on the list for Halloween. Maybe not play Dead Space.
I love Dead Space.
I know, so do I. In fairness,
yeah. But we've got Back for Blood around Halloween, right?
Yeah. Oh, thank God. That's going to be the week my heart will have a break. Because, well, I say that. I feel like I'll be jump scared a few times, but it would be nothing in comparison to like playing the likes of like Blair Witch or like Dead Space. So
I don't know what you find scary about horror games. I love horror games. I
no,
think they're
it's not
fun.
that it's just because I'm not used to them. It's because I don't play them that often, and I hate um I just hate sort of jump scary stuff. Like there's some creepy stuff as well. Let me think. Like you remember in Ori Village, I suppose it's not really a spoiler, but do you remember when you go to what's it Bienavienta's like house or whatever, and there's one bit at the end where you unlock the door, or you actually I think it's you come up from the like weird little well thing, and you open the door and then there's like Mia there with like the child, and then it like disappears. Like that gives me a fright. Like that sort of stuff, it's like that's creepy, like, but like, and then obviously jump scary stuff, and like come on, you're not gonna tell me you weren't scared at like Dead Space when you were younger.
I wasn't that scared of Dead Space when I was younger. I remember the frantic stress of getting in an elevator and it just closing. Like there were definitely tense moments in Dead Space, but I wasn't really scared.
Yeah, no,
I in fact I was the child who loved jump scares.
it's just like no, you're just actually like I don't know, you're wired differently, Connor. Those like I think my only experience of like I suppose playing a horror game and like not what no I was still scared is when I played Outlast with like two of my other friends, and like we literally, because that game is so like it's so like adrenaline inducing because you're just constantly running from stuff, um and like oh I mean probably if I went back and played it now I wouldn't find that scary. I think even the beginning of the medium I was like oh fuck I don't want to play this, like this is just creepy. But then it kind of opens up a little bit. It's not as weird.
I'll tell you what, nothing will be playing Resident Evil 7 for the first time because that game.
Oh no,
That's,
I just never want to do that again.
that game it screwed even me. Like,
I won't do that. I'm one of
but
those people that like
it could never do that if I went back to it because I'd know it.
yeah, but I don't. I'm the same person. I hate that sort of like body horror stuff as well, of like chopping people's limbs off. Like oh no, please! Like I've such like I think this is quite a rational fear. I've a fear of very sharp objects like coming near my skin. So it's like
Right, yeah. I see. I almost have like kind of an OCD thing about like I can't have knives or pens turned towards me. I always have to turn them away from me.
yeah,
Can't do it.
actually, there's a really funny thing. Actually, I heard somebody's like weirdest fear at one point was like, you know, in the washing machine when you put your knives in, they have to always put the actual knife bit face down because they're afraid if someone falls that the knife will impale them. It's just
I do that. I do that, and my mum gets me, and she's like, well, when I did live with my mum got at me because she always said that the knives wouldn't be clean. It's like, no, I'm sure they're going to be clean even if they're stuck down. You know, I'm not falling on it.
yeah, it's obviously some irrational fear or whatever. Like, um, it's like also like going down like the stairs with a sharp object. Like I don't know. Were you ever? I always thought, you know, if you're going down like the stairs with scissors or something, like hold the actual scissor part itself.
I was always taught that.
Yeah, because I know
I've
people.
never really, I've never had to go down the stairs with
But
the
like,
mission sharp.
I just like those. It's some of the weird stuff. Like this is really off topic, by the way, from Psychonauts, so we should probably get back to it soon. But like, it's like, you know, when you're like, oh, what is it? It's like there's so much things you could teach someone like at a young age, but it's this like, and I say this like with a loving heart, learning about that thing with the scissors is the most useless piece of information. Like if you just say to someone, don't run down the stairs with scissors, you know, like I want to know like how many people on a yearly average are running down the stairs with scissors, fall, and the scissors just so happens to impale them that they die. And like I need these statistics as to why this is such a relevant thing to bring up. It's like don't step underneath an elevator. It's like, well, yeah, obviously, like or it's like, oh, actually, sorry, this is bringing up another train of thought again. I promise we'll go back to Psychonauts. This I was looking at a video recently, and apparently you're more likely, so you're less likely to die in an elevator, or like an elevator falling or whatever, than you are to be crushed by a vending machine. Imagine going out like that. It'd be so rough. Like, imagine saying, "Oh, how'd he go in his sleep? No, under a vending machine." It's just, but
He really wanted that Twix, you know.
yeah. And now let's bring it back to Psychonauts. If he had used his telekinesis to move the vending machine, he would have survived. So there's your segue, Connor.
Yeah, but thing is, Raz can run with his sharp mental abilities, but the thing that was dated for me in no, wait, where was I? There was a point I was making. Double Fine comedy.
Yeah. Back to it finally.
Yeah, I loved it. I loved talking to all the different kids, all their different personalities. I thought it was consistently funny.
Do you have a favourite?
Even in the...
Do you have a favourite? Because I do. I think it's quite... like, I think you'll probably know who it is as well.
Thing is, I love Ford Cruller.
Really? Out of all of them?
I love his voice. It cracks me up.
Oh.
And the fact that... Have you gotten to the bit where he gives you a piece of bacon?
Yeah, no, I've gotten that.
Yeah. The fact that you summon him like from out of your ear with a piece of bacon. I love it.
Yeah, no, Dogen is definitely my favourite.
What, the kind of
the
messed up one?
Yeah, kind of like egg-looking one.
Yeah.
I think he's just
really cute.
He's quite classy. Like, I don't know what it is about him. Like,
no,
like like adult Dogen's getting girls. Like, he's got like, I don't know. He stumbled on like some like entrepreneurial scheme, and he's like living the high life now as a like top tier psychonaut.
I'll tell you what the kids remind me of. You know, Ed, and Eddie.
Yes. Oh my god. Yeah, they are so. Yes. They literally do look like 3D Ed, and Eddies.
Yes.
Like particularly, what's the bully's name with the big afro or whatever? Like he looks like a mixture between like Ed, and Eddie and Recess.
Oh, is it Bobby? Bobby in Psychonauts.
Oh yeah, Bobby. Yeah, no, but they do have that. See, it goes back to that style of the time. Like they are very much like Ed, and Eddie, like Recess mixed in a 3D world, maybe a bit of Bug's Life. Particularly, I get the Bug's Life vibe off like Raz and is it Lily is the girl's name?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think those vibes are definitely there. That kind of they have that awkward kind of high school humor. Yeah, it's definitely. I'd say it exists in that. If it's not a genre, it's definitely like a.
It's definitely a period style.
Yeah, it's definitely like a period style, which is going to be interesting to see what the new one's like, and like how Double Fine's humor has grown, and like what they're willing to do now.
The new one out of what have I seen, like really does remind me of like a newer form of like Ratchet and Clank game.
It looks beautiful. The new one, like compared to what, because obviously Double Fine, they do different types of games, and Broken Age was like one of their newest ones, and obviously it was a sort of animated point and click type thing. And Psychonauts and Brutal Legend kind of stand out as these more kind of fully fledged games. They're not just like arcade games like The Cave and Costume Quest. You know, they are like proper platformers or proper open world projects. So to have that kind of Microsoft money and be part of Xbox Game Studios, you can definitely see the polish. And the game's ready. It's just getting that polish and releasing in August as well, which is fantastic.
Yeah, for sure.
The developers have said that there's been no crunch either.
Well, I mean, what, 16 years? You'd hope not.
What, for Psychonauts 2?
Yeah, it was released in 2005, the first one. Like, obviously they weren't doing it all that time, but like they've had all that time to think about it. Like, you'd hope there wasn't crunch on Psychonauts 2.
Yeah, but I really commend them for that. But I think it's going to feel really modern compared to this game, because you can definitely see where this game is aged.
Yeah.
I think that going into the first Brain Coach Oleander's obstacle course, which is like a war zone, like kind of World War I, kind of showing his experiences in the war, and because all the levels are sort of the mental landscapes of the people you inhabit. You like mentally teleport into their brain through like a little
A door.
door. Yeah, it's fantastic. Really like Twilight Zone kind of stuff.
Yeah.
And you get to experience their psyche, their memories, sort of their emotional baggage and their issues. I can't really remember the word for it, but like you get to solve their problems because all their kind of dysfunctions and disorders exist as like monsters within their minds, which is like a really unique take on mental health in 2005, and I think just a wonderful way to have like a level system. But definitely jumping into that first brain, you can tell there's like decisions game wise that have aged, like the figments, which I think probably wouldn't have been that egregious back in 2005, but they're just like little 2D line drawings of something that's relevant to the memory or to the person that you're inhabiting. And collecting them is just like a real chore, and they're not very pretty as well. I think they actually detract from the environments for me.
I think they kind of give me like almost a like a callback to like Rayman. I don't know. Maybe it's just that, again, that era of games, like you think of like those weird like 3D platformers. I know Rayman has 2D ones, but like it's predominantly known for its 3D games. But like that, Psychonauts, like I'm trying to think what other like big, well, Ratchet and Clank kind of comes to mind, but that was a bit after. Like maybe like Sly Cooper as well, maybe a little bit. Like there's definitely like, I think that was the time of like the 3D platformer, or at least the 3D platformer with like a weird art style or mix or whatever.
I think platformers have like a hard time knowing how to include collectibles and stuff in a game without making them feel like a chore. I think that, you know, games like Ty the Tasmanian Tiger or Crash Bandicoot, like all those games have a pretty good sense of including collectibles in a way which goes along with the level and doesn't feel like you're just doing stuff that is like, you know, button mashing load of different objects that you don't really care about. I like the destroying of objects in the levels sort of reminds me of like when you play a Lego game and you like hit all the stuff to get the studs, and it's just like, oh, I really wish I wasn't hitting all this stuff. Which I'm sure loads of Lego fans are going to be like, I can't believe you just criticized.
I don't think anyone likes going out of their way to find studs in a Lego game.
It's just like, you know, give me those nice purple studs. I can't be here collecting all this silver stuff. But yeah, so remind me exactly what you've done in the game, Odhrán.
The last thing I did was I got the canoe over to like start the telepathy. I don't know if it's the levitation class. I haven't gone into it yet.
Right.
And like, I think I just found like Dogan has just lost his brain, and like Lily is like kind of like, oh, you know that monster as well from like I had that in my nightmare, and she knows who the doctor is as well. So that's where I'm at the moment. What I've done before that was I've done the trials bit with Agent 9, and like I've done his like section at the beginning where you fight that big monster, which is a representation of like him like holding down his emotions. Actually, this while we're on the topic, when we're going back, you know when you first meet what's his name, the head guy, what's his name again?
Ford Crawler?
Yeah, you know when you first meet him and you go through the secret passage into like the like transport system.
Yeah.
Have you ever watched Star Wars: The Clone Wars?
Yes.
You know the voice actress for us, you know Asajj Ventress?
Yes.
I feel like that's the same voice actress because they sound like identical. The
I didn't
mobile.
I didn't notice that.
Yeah, I need to look this up after. Or actually, no, screw it. No, it's already disorganized enough. I'm going to look it up now. it's, it's, you feel free
It
to
wouldn't
talk about
surprise me. I
something.
mean, the game had like Tara Strong as one of the is that her name? I think that's like a famous voice
Yeah.
actor, isn't it? Actress. Um, but yeah, I feel like I'm so disappointed you haven't played like the whole game, because I was going to talk to you about different levels and their aesthetics and what they did mechanic wise.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Uh,
I
some
tried,
which
man.
some which were more of a drag, some which were really fun. Uh, the boss fights in this game are amazing. I loved all the boss fights. There's such a different range. And I think that like it's sometimes hard to tell what makes a good boss fight. Like people criticize Halo's boss fights all the time, like just punch an old man in the chair or shoot a little robot thingy, and it's like okay, well, what makes a good boss fight? And it literally is like the environment has a way that you can exploit it. And then the boss evolves so that you can't do that anymore, or
Yeah.
there's a certain way of getting round like a problem and you've got to find the solution. Like I think the bosses in this game hold up, and I think that pretty much everything in this game just shows promise for what a modern sequel could do.
Hmm. For sure. Um. Sorry, I'm just.
But yeah, there is so much I could talk about.
Yeah, true. And honestly, I would have finished it if it wasn't for the sake of I just didn't have the time. Because this last week, oh my word, has been absolutely meeting after meeting after work. It's just like ridiculous.
Yeah, no, don't worry about it. But how many mental abilities did you get actually?
Um, how many are there? She is in
Your
Psychonauts. I
audio
knew it.
keeps
I just
cutting out
wanted
on my
to.
Discord.
Sorry, she is in Psychonauts.
Sorry, your audio keeps cutting out on my Discord for some reason.
Oh, can you hear me now?
Yeah, yeah.
Oh yeah. Yeah, no. She is in Psychonauts. I just checked it there.
Oh, is she?
She is. Yeah. So.
Well, is that her?
Yeah. I'm happy. I realized that now.
Oh my god, I didn't even realize.
Apparently, she's also in Halo 3 as well, which I should probably look out for next time. She's in a load of video games.
Wow.
But yeah.
Voice actors get about, to be fair.
Yeah. So all I've gotten at the moment in terms of abilities is, I think it's just literally just the shoot mechanic. That's all
Right,
I've unlocked.
okay.
It's just
So there's loads. There's telekinesis. There's pyrokinesis, levitation, confusion grenades, invisibility. There's a mental shield where you have like a bubble around you. There's like loads of stuff. I think that the way that they do it, where there's like a little interface you can pop up with either I think the back button or the directional pad.
Yeah.
And you can select the abilities to go either on the right trigger, the right bumper, or the left bumper, which would obviously be the white and black buttons on an original Xbox, because this is an original Xbox game. That feels a little dated, I think, because to have a button for levitation where it's basically like you jump really high and you're in like a rolling ball. Like a lot of it feels like stuff that should just be a button combo, or they could have just put it on that button rather than making me go and select it.
Yeah.
Like there definitely needs to be a trim of the abilities and kind of utilizing the controller in sort of ways that make sense, because having those sort of menus that just aren't that satisfying anymore, especially when you like pick up objects. And I think this goes back to like the history and the lineage with point and click games, is that you pick up objects and then you use them to interact with certain things later on, as you do when solving puzzles in a point and click game.
Yeah.
And that's fine, but like once you get enough objects that you actually got like 2 pages of stuff you can select, you're thinking, okay, well, this is getting a bit far now. So I mean, if they can do a Psychonauts game where I don't have to scroll through menus to get my abilities or my items, and I don't have to run around collecting stuff that feels pretty like inconsequential, I think that it can be Xbox's next Ratchet and Clank, right? It can be its like really polished platformer with great characters that everyone's gonna love. And I was actually surprised when looking at the Psychonauts 2 on the Xbox Store, because a lot of Double Fine's games are like indie feeling type, kind of quite personal Xbox Live Arcade type games. And as I've said, they do have Psychonauts, they do have Brutal Legend, and they've priced Psychonauts 2 on the Xbox Store as £55. And I was, I didn't know how much it would be when I'm looking forward to it. But that makes sense, that to value it that much and say this is a really polished first party platformer. I think they are going for that. We want to challenge what PlayStation's got in Ratchet and Clank. Not necessarily like that was the plan from the beginning, but like we put enough value in this that it can stand up against Halo Infinite. I know a lot of people are excited for Forza and Halo Infinite, but the fact that Psychonauts is standing alongside them as like this cult classic that is coming back with Xbox behind it, I think is wonderful.
In fairness, I would go as daring to say that probably more people are excited for Psychonauts 2 than they are for Gears 6. It's like, because like the Gears franchise has been like stretching itself out for a while now, where Psychonauts I feel like has like, I think particularly if Psychonauts releases and it does well, like both critically and with like the audiences, it'll have a better fan base than Gears does now.
I don't know if I'd say that necessarily.
Is that a hot take? Yeah.
I think that's a little bit of it's got a little bit of spice. I think Gears is in trouble. I definitely think Gears is in trouble because it gets fantastic critical acclaim. I think everyone who plays Gears thinks this looks awesome. This is polished. The Coalition are great at doing what they do. Gears is one of Xbox's best IPs, but the fact is not enough people are playing it.
Yeah,
I don't think. I think the people who play it, very impressed with it. But I can tell you that I played maybe a third of Gears 5 and I haven't returned to it.
Yeah.
I think people have a hard time just pressing the install button.
I think the problem with Gears is that it kind of gets away with a lot of stuff because it is such a long established franchise and there isn't really any competition for it on the Xbox. Like, Outriders is kind of similar to Gears, but like I've said in like episodes before, that game's shit, so like it's not going to be doing anything. Like, sorry, I mean that in the nicest way possible. It's just not the game for me, and I just think it has so many flaws in it that it couldn't even be compared to Gears.
I don't know who's playing Outriders anyway.
Like Gears to me has kind of gone downhill since 4. Like, I played 4 and I thought it was all right, but like in comparison to the original trilogy of Gears games, it's just, actually no, sorry, 4 is a bit rough to say. I probably around Judgment was when people stopped liking Gears. I know Judgment was done by
the Outriders guys.
Yeah, so I mean, no surprise there then. Sorry, no, again, no, I shouldn't be sorry, Square Enix. That's all right.
The problem with Gears is that the first trilogy was monumental, and what the first one set up in terms of the cover system and those mechanics were really, really strong, so that when we talked about Mass Effect, when we talked about Outriders, when we talk about any third-person cover-based shooter, we always say it's, Gears of War style.
Yeah.
The problem is, it's been going a long while now, and I dropped out after Judgment. I didn't get an Xbox One for ages. And I played Gears 4 recently, and although I was fighting robots a little for,
it's a good section with that,
I really loved it. I really enjoyed it. I thought the characters were great. and I went into Gears 5 pretty optimistic. Like, I really love Judgment. I'm gonna like no 4, not Judgment. I really like 4. I'm gonna go into Gears 5 and really enjoy it. And I didn't.
The funny thing
I
about Gears 5 as well is I know absolutely nothing about it. Like, I know it was featured in like E3 at like 2 years ago, but I have not played it. I know there's like some sled that you ride in one section, and that's about it. But like, yeah, Gears a weird one because Xbox is a really difficult time, and I want to say this like with an open heart. To like, I think any franchise has this problem though of like once you finish your core trilogy, trying to do something after that is extremely difficult because you've got people, because usually the direction a lot of people take after a core trilogy is it either goes stale because the same characters are here way too long, because a trilogy, there's a reason a trilogy works so well is because you have your beginning, middle and end. And when I think about like let's say like the way people either do trilogies is they either reboot it, they either continue it on, or they like bring on a load of new cast. And for the most part, it very much doesn't do well. I think prequel trilogies are actually probably better for a lot of games to look into. Sequel stuff always annoys fans. I don't think I've ever heard of like one sequel series that has won over people more.
Yeah, I think that's why ODST and Reach were successful.
It's because of their own little things, like, you know, like they're so kind of, well, not that they're disconnected, but they are like they're related, but they are very much disconnected from the mainline games. Whereas like 4 and 5 are a direct continuation of that, with a character who realistically people probably would have been fine with just him ending up in space and floating off forever, because at least it leaves it up to the player's imagination then of what happens. Whereas like when you try to take on that story, there's guaranteed to be someone who's going to be pissed off with the way you go with it. And this is coming from someone who actually really likes Halo 4's story. Like, I think it's quite good.
I tell you what, I'm gonna go on the take that Halo 5 shouldn't exist. Halo 4 should have been named Halo Awakening, and Halo Infinite should have been the next one. No second trilogy.
I think that's what they're kind of doing at the moment, though, like, because there's such little remnants of Halo 5, really, in what we've seen of Halo Infinite. Like, it feels like a successor to Halo 4.
They're retconning, definitely.
Which I'm perfectly fine with, because as much as I love the multiplayer and gameplay feel of Halo 5, I absolutely despise the campaign. Like, Halo 4, like, yes, it took a bold approach in, like, making the Chief, like, I don't really like Master Chief when he speaks a lot. I think that kind of detracts from the whole idea of who he is, but for the most part I liked it contained within Halo 4 because it told such a compelling narrative.
Well, I'll tell you what, they've nailed Chief's dialogue in the Infinite stuff we've seen so far compared to what we saw in 4.
He definitely, Chief definitely feels like the more sort of stoic like hero from like Halo 2, Halo 3 again. Like, where he only said stuff that, like, you will remember his lines. Like, everyone from that, like, previous one is going to remember, I told you it's enough, and the mission changes, it always does. Like, that stuff is, like, stuff you'd expect from the Chief. Like, not him being like, oh, hold on, I need to reload. Like, Chief would never say something like that. It's just, like, it would be so blatantly obvious to the player. I think the one thing about Chief is that, at least whenever you hear, like, Marty O'Donnell or someone talk about it, is that, like, Chief only says something when it needs to be said, or like when it holds weight to the story. It's not like, because for the most part he's a vessel for the player, so it's like if he says anything outside of like what the player might think at some stage that doesn't impact the story, it just feels like disconnected.
Yeah.
But there is a good way to handle Chief where he does speak a lot. And again, we're going off like Psychonauts, which is, I mean, at this stage it's fine. I think we've crumbled this episode into just a mishmash of everything, which is grand. But
yeah,
there is a good way to do Chief in which he is like an actual character. I think 4 does it quite well. Like, I like the way they tackle that sort of broken man, or even like a broken child in some cases, because he's not really a man.
Yeah. The problem with 4 is that the story is so good, and it stands out in the kind of Halo core of games, right? That it actually blinds people to how bad the level design is.
Yeah, no, 4, I never really liked 4 because it always had a problem with resource management specifically because weapons were never given enough ammo.
Yeah,
Like you'd
well,
pretty much be scavenging for a bolt shot after like one encounter.
you're always fighting enemies you're bored of. You're always shooting guns. You're not that
Yeah, even the
happy with.
Covenant aren't exactly fun to fight in Halo 4, which is weird to say because they're like predominantly known for being like the most fun and diverse like catalog of like enemies to fight. Um,
Yeah, it's all a bit drained and it all feels a bit nothingy. Just like you're shooting
yeah,
fluff.
I suppose it doesn't help that I don't like the actual art style of Halo 4. I prefer it a bit more in 5, but like,
I I I love the art style of Halo 4, but not in a game. You know, I,
yeah,
I go through that art book and I think this stuff is fantastic. I love it. But when I'm when I'm watching the cutscenes, I think it's brilliant as well. But when I'm in the game, it's not what I want at
yeah,
all.
but it's like it's just certain changes, like the grunts and the elites look so much more derpy than they ever did. Like, because at least in fairness, in Halo 3, the elites looked like they could handle themselves. Like, their armor was very, like, pointy and, like it had a lot of shape to it. And it looked like actual, like, I suppose, stoic armor for the stoic warrior. But it was like, then you go to Halo 4 and it's all these curves and everything, and it's just like, it just looks way too refined, and it actually makes them look like kind of like grey blobs in a suit. Um, and like this whole thing of like they completely just got rid of their armor or like their armor, so it just looks like they're all going around in vests, and I hate the look of it. The grunts as well just look so ugly. Like there's a reason they had a mask. Like don't take it off. Sorry, I'm really nitpicking on something here, but no, I everything about Halo 4, the story I really like. Everything about playing it I absolutely hate. Like if it was a movie, I would really, really like it. It's just the fact that I have to play through it.
Yeah, yeah, that's exactly it.
Yeah, but
So Psychonauts sort of stands out as this
what a way to bring it back. Thanks, Connor.
as this IP that whereas a lot of the IPs, they've dragged them out now. They're getting a little tired. To actually have this cult classic that you're bringing back,
Hmm.
uh, it yeah, I'm really rooting for Psychonauts 2. I
Oh
think
yeah.
it's gonna be phenomenal. Uh, I think it was really smart of Xbox to invest in studios. I've always just got to commend Xbox and what they're doing at the moment because they're investing in people, right? They're
Hmm.
investing in studios that produce their own, projects that they're hugely passionate about, like Bethesda, like Double Fine, uh, and PlayStation. I think that they're more likely to invest in IPs rather than people in studios. I think that
Hmm.
PlayStation, by not showing up at E3, maybe they think they're better than E3. Xbox, they show up at E3, but they've got a community content creator like Paris Lily, showing that they want that relationship with the community.
I don't know if I go that far. I think PlayStation definitely values studios. Like Insomniac's a perfect example of that, because like they've created probably some of the most profitable IPs for them, be it like Spider-Man or um, Ratchet and Clank. So I think they definitely give others. I definitely do. They think. I think in their case they would probably argue they get quality over quantity, and I think there's definitely an argument to be there because Microsoft have released some absolute stinkers over the years. Um, but I don't know. I think it's definitely down to a whole case of like Microsoft are buying up companies to put on Game Pass, whereas like Sony are buying companies to create exclusives that will sell on day one. That's why there's probably such a big gap in between the studios that they own. That and Sony have always had good first party IPs. Whereas Xbox had maybe like one or two at a time, and then they'd have to bring in studios. Whereas Sony they have time on their side. So when Xbox released, they had their already established IPs. Whether it was like at the time, I think Crash Bandicoot. There was definitely Spyro as well. Sly Cooper, Ratchet and Clank, loads of different stuff I could probably name off. But Yeah, no. I think PlayStation have a decent model. I think, as you mentioned, like I think in a, like a previous episode, they're less personable than Xbox because you actually know who's running Xbox, and that's probably down to like Sony being much more of an internationally based company than Xbox is. Like obviously Xbox have headquarters all over the world, but if you were to ask people, like, yeah, they're a US company. I think people like to say that like Sony are an Asian company, or I think it's Japanese. I think a lot of people say that Sony are, but there is just so much like that. Like they have a huge US office. Like they've got loads of other places across the world. Like that, it's kind of meshed into this internationalist sort of company, which is fine. I mean, that's perfectly fine. But it does, on the marketing standpoint, like I don't know. I couldn't tell you the head of PlayStation is.
Well, a lot of people say Jim Ryan.
Yeah. But is that his title? Like this is just genuine curiosity. I have no idea. Like
I thought he was head of PlayStation. I don't know if that's just like Western PlayStation.
Yeah, my console complex is showing here, because I obviously I'm gonna know who Phil Spencer is, and like Bonnie Ross and Sarah Banks and all them, because like it's like I own an Xbox, so I'm gonna be keying in on them. I think if I owned a PlayStation, which I own a PS4 and a PS3, but I don't have the 5, so I'm not really paying too much attention to it. But no.
But I think even like if you watch Nintendo showcase at E3, like you get to see the people behind Nintendo.
Yeah, you do. I don't know. I don't really like Nintendo either, because I don't know, for the most part, they're really weird when it comes to like creators. Like they had their whole thing where they were like they'd copyright some content creators like reviews or something because it showed footage, and then I think there was the whole thing about them not allowing people to co-stream Nintendo Direct, and it's like, I don't know, they don't do a good job at like selling me on their stuff. Granted, I have a Switch, so maybe that just shows I'm a sellout.
Yeah, well, to be honest, I haven't liked Nintendo for a long time. And my girlfriend's going to kill me because she loves Nintendo. And she will rub it in my face all the time that Nintendo's better than Xbox. In fact, you know, because I send you the messages that she sends me. But no, I won't pay £70 for a PlayStation game, and I'm not interested in any of the Nintendo IPs. So, no.
You can't tell me you're not buying Just Dance on the Nintendo Switch.
I might be biased, but you know, call me what you want. But Xbox just has the games that I like to play. You know.
Actually, wait. There's another question. I saw on the store recently, Just Dance 2021 is on the Xbox store. Is the Kinect still a thing, and we just don't know about it?
I mean, the Xbox supposedly still has voice control that you can say Xbox on, but I don't have a Kinect.
Hold on, I'll test it. Xbox on. No, it's dead. It's not as it's died.
I think, is the Kinect still a thing?
I don't know.
It, surely.
Yeah, you probably can, but I'm like,
because
who has it though?
I was playing Rise Son of Rome recently, and that game came out at the launch of the Xbox One, so it has loads of things like archers, fire, volley, and voice commands that you have to shout. And if you don't shout them, you have to hold left bumper for like 10 seconds. Which genuinely, in combat, if you're trying to hold LB while you're thinking about who to counter and everything, it's quite difficult sometimes.
Yeah.
So please tell me you can still get a Kinect. I literally don't know who's buying them. I'll still have mine for the 360 with Kinect Star Wars, but they died pretty hard. Do you think they'd ever try and reintroduce them?
Which, the Kinect?
Yeah.
Nah.
Now that people,
I hope they don't. I really hope they don't.
But I think that when they introduced them last time, people didn't have like Alexa yet. Everyone has an Alexa now, so everyone's just like, "Oh man, I wish I had an Alexa."
See, I refuse to get an Alexa, and only for the reason it's like, I don't want that thing listening to me. Even though like my phone is probably listening to me and my computer, it's just like I refuse to have this thing that is solely voice command in my house. What's it?
I'll tell you, a lot of our listeners' Alexas are going off.
Yeah, I tell you what.
But
I tell
by
you
a lot
what.
of our listeners, I mean one.
Our core audience there, yeah. It's it's literally just Guar. Or every time I say the name, I don't know if I'm saying it correctly. Just and I mean they haven't corrected me in the Discord yet, so I'm gonna assume I'm doing well.
I think it's Gua.
Guar, okay. Guar, if you're listening, send me a message to make sure I'm doing it okay. And if you don't message me, I'll know you're not listening. So it's just it's a win-win. We'll find out who it is either way.
Yeah, it's just Gua and that one guy from Double Fine waiting for us to get back to Psychonauts.
Yeah, he's just
It's
like,
like,
they
oh.
haven't been talking about this game. They just said it's out of date, and now they've gone on a tirade about like this other like trilogies that have nothing to do with us.
It's like all the other developers, like the Fogs developer, like, oh great, I get to listen to like an hour of people talk about my game, and then like the Double Fine guys, like Tim Schafer's there listening, like, will they stop talking about Connect?
Oh, actually, I will bring it back to Psychonauts quickly because we have to finish up soon. The score by Peter McConnell is really, really good. I really like
Yes.
it. I think that's a top quality score. I think particularly in cutscenes, it actually like, as I mentioned, like the score is a big reason for why I feel like I'm watching like a 2005 like onwards like movie. Like it feels good. Now I will say obviously the videos for the cutscenes have aged terribly, but like what can you expect? Like I don't even think 720p existed back then. So
Yeah, I mean the game, I think. Is it the FPS boosts that are making the game run way better than the cutscenes?
yeah, it has to be because the yeah, it definitely is because you can't like remember the whole problem with Halo CE at the time when it was like it was boosted to 60 and the cutscenes would be really weird and janky sometimes. I think they clearly have to separate the video files from the cutscenes, which I mean, I say it now, so it's a good reason to have in-game cutscenes, guys, because you can actually age those. But no, I definitely see what they were going for. It definitely feels like a very classic experience of a game, which I like.
Every time I go back to that summer camp and that theme plays, I'm like, I feel like I'm there, you know?
It's really well done. Like, every character I think as well has their own distinctive personality. Even like the random like side characters that you'll bump into maybe once or twice, like they feel like actual people, or I suppose actual people in that universe. So I really like it. I think the
you
voice.
haven't even met the wackiest ones later.
No, like, but the ones I've met so far, I'm like, yeah, I remember them. And I've had a chuckle at like their expense and things like that. So, yeah, no, I do like it. I think the score though is very underrated. I don't think people talk enough about it. Like, particularly with Xbox IP, themes never really mentioned. But yeah, no, I
Well, I mean,
see.
Psychonauts wasn't really an Xbox IP.
Yeah, true. But I suppose now with it being an Xbox IP, you don't hear people like. I know there's a huge love. Like, there's obviously a huge cult following for Psychonauts, particularly in the Xbox scene as well. I'd say. I say outside of that, you won't hear many people being like, "Oh yeah, the Psychonauts theme."
There are PlayStation. I think Psychonauts 2 is coming to PlayStation as well.
Is it?
Yeah, look it up.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure it is. I think there are PlayStation fans who like Psychonauts 2, Psychonauts as well.
I can't imagine they'd do that. Oh, it is going to PlayStation 4. That's unreal. That's so weird. I can't. I'm kind of tempted to get it on PS4 just to see Xbox Game Studios pop up on the screen when I turn it on. That's so weird.
But the thing is, it's day one on Game Pass. You can't beat that, can you?
Yeah, no, you can't.
You can bring your games to multiple platforms, but when you like,
yeah, the day one sort of free thing of it makes it kind of a whole new playing field, doesn't it?
Well, the thing is like I thought ages ago that I was gonna pre-order Psychonauts 2, and then like the 55 price tag comes up, and I'm like, oh, I don't know now.
Yeah, it is almost like, yeah, it is kind of like it might as well be an exclusive at that stage because you're pretty much just getting it for like Back 4 Blood might as well be an Xbox exclusive because
I can't believe I pre-ordered
you're getting it.
I've
I thought you
I've
loved
money.
supporting the developers. I thought you loved it.
The financial position I'm in.
I
Right
tell you
now,
what, Connor, the worst thing would be is if you pre-ordered it and it's on Game Pass and if it's shit. Could you imagine? Could you imagine the scenes? Oh,
yeah,
I wouldn't let you live
I
that down if that was the case.
I think it'll be all right. I don't think it's gonna be terrible. I just think that it's got a hard. Left 4 Dead is gonna be hard to live up to.
Oh yeah, as it should be.
Yeah.
I have no expectations for Anacrusis, but I think that might be quite fun.
Oh, see, Anacrusis. I mean, it's like one of those co-op things like World War Z. And one of my friends told me, "Oh, get World War Z. It's a really cool kind of Left 4 Dead type third-person zombie co-op thing."
It's on Game Pass too.
Yeah, I know. I was like, "Oh, okay, I'll get it." And it's like, yeah, I mean, it's fun. I mean, it's all right. I imagine that there are many co-op games very similar like it out there that are really fun with friends, but Back 4 Blood is one of those ones that I reckon I could play on my own quite happily, to be honest.
Yeah, unfortunately, some games you need friends for. Sad times. I think we're getting.
I mean, the fact that you get it day one on Game Pass,
Yeah.
and I might play the whole thing and then decide at the end, you know what, that is an experience that is absolutely worth £55, and then I'll buy it to support the developer. But
And you probably get it at a cheaper rate as well because of the Game Pass savings.
Yeah, exactly. So I mean, I love having that option there. The one thing I don't like, I bought the original Costume Quest and Broken Age because I want to do a write up on like all Double Fine games at some point. I wish that when Xbox got an IP, like all of their back catalog library just went to Game Pass like that.
Well, they had the whole problem. Even they even had to but Bethesda had like 10 games not on Game Pass for ages.
Yeah, Bethesda came in like a huge waterfall of their library, and then like little bit drips here and there.
Yeah, Doom Eternal was on Game Pass even before Bethesda was. Oh no, wait, no, it was straight away when Bethesda was bought. I think Doom Eternal came to it.
Yeah.
God, what a day that was. I think we should probably wrap up because 10 minutes till our next meeting, so we should.
Yeah. So, what were we talking about? Psychonauts.
Psychonauts, yeah. I would.
Yeah.
What I've played of it so far, I'd give it a pass. I really like it. I say, or sorry, should I say, I'd give it a game pass.
A platforming classic for me. It honestly at the time it would probably be a 10 out of 10, but just because it's aged a little, 8 or 9s, I think it's truly wonderful in its humor, in its world building.
Yeah.
I'm really looking forward to the second one.
Yeah. If I get back to it sometime this week and I have a chance to play it in between our game for next week, which I'll mention in a minute, I'll give you my, I suppose, score. I don't know. It's kind of arbitrary at that stage, really, isn't it?
We'll talk about Psychonauts next week, and next week's game we're probably not going to have the time to play. So
yeah, we'll just start naming the episodes. It'll be like, here's what we should have talked about. It's actually just a more of a up next is what you'll see in the title. But no, next week we are going to be looking at Need for Speed Hot Pursuit, absolute classic of the racing genre. Oh no, we're not. No, never mind. Never mind. We're not going to get to play that classic for 2. We're doing Dungeons and Dragons Dark Alliance.
Dungeons and Dragons Hot Pursuit. You drive around in a...
It's a 2-piece episode next week. We've taken 2 games that are extremely similar and we're going to talk about them. Next week's episode should be interesting. May have a guest on, fingers crossed, or I may not be there. So it's, I don't know. For listeners, it could be either a guest or no me. No, sorry, it'll be a guest or me. Sorry. So you're probably all happy. You're probably all rooting for the guest. Get the guest on.
Please don't leave me on my own.
I mean, I had to do my own episode. It's only fair that Connor has to be a trial of flames.
Fire. Yeah. I'm nervous now.
I don't know. Maybe it will change, but our viewers won't know until next week anyways. So we thank you all for listening again, as usual. As always, we have a Discord in which we chat about games on that every now and then. If you want to go and join that, link will be top in the description. You can also follow us on all our relevant social medias linked below as well. If you're listening on Spotify, please give the podcast a follow. If you're watching on YouTube, a subscribe would greatly be appreciated. And I suppose with that being said, any last words, Connor, before we finish up?
Give us 5 stars.
Yes, give us 5 stars. See you all next week. Bye.